the meeting. Open up with the prayer. Dear God, today as we open this session, we pray for your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for the direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day of wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing for all those who are working to transform our city, make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Leahy.
Here.
Councilor Mercier.
Here.
Councilor Noon.
Here.
Councilor Rourke.
Here.
Councilor Samaras.
Here.
Councilor Chow.
Here.
Councilor Conway. 8 present.
Any memorials this week? Okay. Mayor's business, communication, remote and Zoom participation. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Chow, second by Councilor Drinkwater. City clerk portion. Need a motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the city council meeting November 16th by Councilor Mercier, second by Councilor Noon. Not 7 o'clock yet. Yep. Communications from the city manager. Just informational this week, Madam Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. The first item on the agenda for the informational has to do with the accelerated repair program. Actually, there will be a vote or a hearing on this December 7th. But just by way of background for the council, as the council knows, we have been applying through the MSBA for the past couple of years and have received approval for a number of repairs at our schools. In 2019, you'll see in your packet, and we can present more fully. Back in 2019, we submitted 21 projects for the 2019 for that round of funding, and we received 6 boilers and 2 roof repairs in 2019. In 2020, we submitted 21 projects, and we received approval on a roof at the Shaughnessy, but then that was determined ineligible. We applied for 20 projects in this round of funding at 13 schools, and we received approval on 7 in terms of being selected for schematic design. Those 7 projects include the Krista McAuliffe Elementary School, a new roof, the Henry Robinson Middle School, a roof, partial boiler, windows and doors, the John Shaughnessy Elementary School, a boiler, and the Wang Middle School, a roof and a boiler. So we're very excited about being invited and approved by the MSBA board for these 7 projects. So what happens next when it comes before the council in December, it will be voting for funding for the schematic design portion. And as you may recall from the past 2 rounds of these projects, we do receive 80% reimbursement from the MSBA, both for schematic design as well as the installation, whether it's roof, boilers. This time you'll see under the Robinson School, there's also windows, there's also doors, so those are also eligible projects under the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program. I think on the day that the MSBA board voted earlier this month, Lowell was the one community that received the approval of the most projects by the board that day. I think we beat Boston by 1 school project. So we're very grateful to the MSBA for their continued support of these much-needed projects. You can see the other schools that are listed that we submitted for that didn't get approved yet. We will continue to apply. The next round usually will open in January, and so we'll apply for the most needed projects then. This is something that is based on the age of the systems. Typically, in a typical year, roofs have to be at least 25 years old, boilers have to be 25 years old, and windows and doors have to be 30 years old or older on any of those. Sometimes the MSBA, depending on how many projects are submitted, changes the criteria. So what may have been 25, they up to 28 or 29. That's happened to us a couple of times. We met the criteria or threshold when we applied, but because they had so many applications from so many communities, they upped the age, and so we got bumped out by a year or two. And so we just reapplied the next year. So this is just by way of looking at the timeline. In June of this year, we submitted the statement of interest to the MSBA for the projects that I just mentioned. And then the MSBA selects projects to be invited to participate in the process, which they voted on, as I said, at their November meeting. And then we submit the documents to the MSBA and vote. We will, including the council vote for schematic design, and they will then assign consultants to the project. So it will be before you at the December 7th meeting, but I just wanted to give the council the background on this. And actually, the good news of having 7 projects approved, as I said, what we know for certain are much needed capital projects and improvements in our schools. So we're happy to continue to receive their support. I didn't know if there was any questions.
Any questions on that? Okay, seeing none, next one, I guess, Madam Manager.
Yeah, the next is regarding the PACE program. Christine McCall is here to speak to the PACE program, but this is, again, an exciting program that Christine can explain why we are recommending that we do participate, and it can benefit property owners across the city.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Can you hear me? Okay. So the PACE program, we included it in one of our responses earlier in the summer in response to how we can support downtown redevelopment. The Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE program was announced in 2020 by the Baker administration, and it's administered by Mass Development. Through this program, financing is available for energy improvements on commercial, industrial, multifamily properties with 5 or more units and buildings owned by nonprofits. This program will help property owners finance energy improvement projects which may be cost prohibitive without the long payback periods. This program will have a payback period of over 20 years, and it's a low interest rate program. The longer payback timeline makes some of the more expensive energy improvements more accessible and attractive to property owners. In order to participate in this program, owners have to commit to having a betterment assessment of their property and a lien placed on their property. The improvements are made through this program, stay with the property, and will transfer to the new owner if a property is sold. And we are first in line. So if they don't pay their taxes, it doesn't go to Mass Development, it comes to the city first. Just wanted to clarify that. We are first in line should there be negligence. And then in order for Lowell Properties to participate in this program, we need a majority vote of the city council. We have to opt in. This program has been adopted by 48 municipalities across the Commonwealth, and 9 gateway cities have been in, but the only communities in the area who have opted in is North Andover. We think this is a great benefit to the city. It aligns with our sustainability objectives, including our green community partnership with UMass Lowell. It's an essential tool for helping our communities reach the emissions reduction goals enacted this spring when Governor Baker signed an act creating a next generation roadmap for Massachusetts climate policy. We are excited about this program because we think it opens up an avenue of financing to local property owners that current property owners cannot access. With the age of our building stock and our desire to attract quality development to the city and our desire to be a more sustainable community, we think this is a good program to opt into as another financing tool for property owners. Attached to the informational is a vote resolution language that we would need to adopt to opt into the program. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but we would like to move this for a vote of the council.
Sure. Any questions from the floor? Sure. Who's registered?
Is a registered speaker.
All right. Why don't we'll go to the council and then to the registered. So Councilor Chow first.
The speaker can go first, Mayor.
Speak, go first. All right.
Jay Mason.
Hi, thank you. I'm Jay Mason. I reside at 415 Pawtucket Street, unit number 1, and I'm here to speak in favor of this program. PACE program is an opportunity to benefit some of the large energy users of the city. It's my understanding that right now, these large energy users are using 66% of the gas and of the electricity, and 49% of the gas. So there's a lot of opportunity for saving and for getting more efficient. And getting more efficient is why I'm here. I think we all agree that we need to take these measures to fight climate change in the best way that we can. I don't have a lot to say other than I'm also a property owner. I have a 5-unit building which would qualify for this program, and I see the tax benefit and the investment assistance as being key for any moderately scaled property owner like myself to take advantage and get involved and be incentivized to do this kind of sustainable programming. So I very much would like to see a vote in favor.
Thank you. Councilor Chow, do you have questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Christine, for making the presentation. Very, very good information. And this is one of the goal to reach net zero emission by 2050, and it's a great program to bring into Lowell. I just have a couple questions on the, for the property owners who are interested in improving their properties. You mentioned that there's a betterment assessment that has to be completed. Who will be conducting that assessment?
So the program is completely administered by Mass Development.
Okay.
The only role that the city would play after opting in is actually Mass Development will have to pay for an add-on for our Munis system, and then the assessment just goes out with the tax bill every year.
Okay, wonderful. And is there a limit dollar amount that is per property or depend on the size of the project, or
No,
there's no? Okay.
it's just the building itself.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Any Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Christine. This is a great information for us. I know that the council and the administration has been in terms of trying to reach the emission goal, reach it faster. This is a great opportunity to do that. I think to have the Sustainability Committee, Jay Mason and others, Stephen is here in support of this, and this is what the council as a whole looking for to do. So with this project, it certainly not only help the property owners in terms of finance the energy improvement project, but also the city as a whole. So thank you for bringing it up, and this is a great opportunity for us to opt in as a city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a good opportunity for the city of Lowell, and I would, if there's no further questions, I would make a motion to send this resolution to a vote.
Okay. Motion by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke.
I would suggest that it come down in the form of a resolution, just in terms of being able to find it years down the line. If it's caught up in the minutes of a meeting, it's a little more difficult to track. So if the motion was to have the law department formalize the resolution on it and send it down, I think that's a cleaner approach to it, if can
Mr.
be.
Clerk, I thought there was a resolution right here,
Okay.
so I don't know
We can
how.
coordinate with law to get it on the next agenda as a resolution.
Well,
Easy because it's already written.
there is a vote/resolution.
Mhm.
Oh, so can we just vote on it tonight?
Yeah, if we can, we will, so. Is that under the votes?
I mean, it's up to whatever you want to do on it. You can vote on the matter tonight. if you want, yeah. Yep.
Okay, all right, so a motion was made, and we'll do a roll call.
Yep. You know, sir.
Yep, roll call.
Counselor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Conway. 8 yeas.
Okay. So I need a motion to place on file the information reports by Council Samaras, second by Council Mercia. Votes from the city manager.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Council Mercia.
if we could bundle the votes for the city manager, 7.1 to 7.7, and that does not in any way limit people from speaking. If there's people registered to speak or any councilors have concerns, they're all votes. And
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor, is this, the first vote is just a referral to a public hearing, so I'd just exclude that from.
Okay, 7.2 to 7.7, thank you.
Yep, motion by Council Mercia, second by Council Rourke. 7-1, vote minimum residential factor FY 2022. Need a motion to refer a public hearing on December 14th at 7 PM by Councilor New, second by Councilor Samaras. Bundle 7-2 to 7-7. Vote, apply, and accept, expend municipal energy technical assistant grant. 7-3, vote to accept donation from DCU. 7-4, vote, apply, accept, expend community first partnership grant. 7-5, apply, accept, expend EM Power Grant. 7-6, vote to approve exemption of Kyle Van, Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20. And 7-7, vote approving creation of police cadet programs.
And there were a couple of registered speakers on 7.2 and 7.5. Jay Mason.
Thank you. Jay Mason, 415 Pawtucket Street. I, again, don't have a lot to say here. It's important that the Municipal Energy Technical Assistance Grant, the META grant, go forward, in my opinion. It's a sustainable practice. It puts us closer to our energy goals, our carbon reduction goals. It is something that, you know, we can take advantage of this retro commissioning. We talked about the Robinson Middle School earlier. We're putting a roof on that building and doing a number of other improvements. This would give us a chance to use outside funds to look deeper into that building to see what other energy savings can be made out of that. We've done really well with this program in the past. We did the Maury School, and we've saved something like $12,000 in energy costs due to the improvements made there. So I think it's a no-brainer to move ahead, and I would urge the council to do so.
And there was one more registered speaker, Jonathan Grossman. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And you spoke on both? You're all set, Mr. Mason? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Sure, Council Mercia?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that I'm very grateful for the $2,500 that's been given by Digital Federal Credit Union, $2,500 to the police department in support of community engagement activities. Did we send them a thank you card? And if we didn't, could we, on behalf of the city council? I think this is
Yeah,
remarkable.
we absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Need a motion to accept by Councilor Drinkwater, second by Councilor Chow. Councilor Chow?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just want to make a comment and for the police cadet program. Superintendent Kelly Richardson, it's great in creating this program to get people in to be part of the program, and that's one of the best way to really encourage more qualified people to join the law enforcement. So this is a great program.
Thank you. Any other comments? Roll call?
Just before the roll call, Superintendent Richardson, I tried to get him on the Zoom, I had some technical problems, so just letting you know he would have been here, but,
Okay,
okay.
all right. Thank you.
Counselor Drinkwater,
Yes.
Counselor Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Leahy,
Yes.
Counselor Mercia,
Yes.
Counselor Noon,
Yes.
Counselor Rourke,
Yes.
Counselor Samaras,
Yes.
Counselor Chow,
Yes.
Counselor Conway. 8 yeas.
All right. Orders from the city manager, 60-day trial, permission to waive the full reading, second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6, therefore entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period up to 60 days. Any questions? Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did have a conversation with the owner that was here last week regarding the Dick Street behind Gorham Street relative to the parking spaces over there, and I see that there's been some agreement or at least some cooperation to provide some spaces for her, for the lot in front. But I guess my question is, how did those property lines, all of a sudden, those parking spaces just appear? I mean, this is rectifying the position, but did somebody from the city just go out and paint lines? Because according to the property owner, they weren't there, and then all of a sudden they were, and three are allowed under the ordinance, but 4 are there. So how did that happen? I mean, I can understand our position as a property owner that, and quite frankly, there are 1-hour parking spots there, and according to this woman there, people parking there all day. So I know it's a work in process. I did speak to Christine, and she's doing a good job for the neighborhood and the pharmacy, but I just thought it was odd that all of a sudden those appeared, Madam Manager.
Sure, Madam Manager.
Yeah, it does appear, I don't know, there is a 60-day trial which will try and balance the equities there, take 2 spots so that the property owner who came here will have access to their lots and yet preserve two spots of parking, because on-street parking has been allowed there, and there are businesses, in the business district there that utilize that. As far as the painting of the spaces, it is my understanding that the city did paint those at some point, and I'm not exactly sure of the history, but that they did paint them, but that this 60-day trial would take away 2 of those, if I have that correct. Christine McCall is here, I know she's worked on it, Camillo has worked on it.
Okay, I mean, I can understand the property owner that one day there's no lines and then all of a sudden there's 4 and they're restricted.
Yeah, and I think it was maybe because people had parked there previously. It
Okay.
had been on-street parking, and so that might have been the explanation.
Okay, that's fine. That's satisfactory. Christine did explain that, but I just think it's important that people aren't just going around painting lines. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Mercia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did go over to that property. I did speak to the owner, and I want you to envision it this way. Let's say that you bought a piece of property or you bought a home and you wanted to park in front of your house and you were told that you couldn't, that they were restricted, and someone put lines, that wouldn't be rather fair. So this is the fairest that we could come up with, which would have made sense for this business owner. We're trying to keep people here, not have them get stuck into a bind and not be able to park. This is the gist of this in simple terms, what's happening here, and I think it's a 60-day trial. That's the best that the engineers could put together in a matter of fairness. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, need a motion to approve and adopt by Counselor Elliott, seconded by Counselor Rourke. Roll call.
Counselor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon. Yes. Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Conway. 8 yeas.
8-2 loan order, MSBA ARP feasibility study of various schools. Need a motion to refer to a public hearing on December 7th at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor Rourke, seconded by Counselor Samaras.
Public hearings, John.
Oh.
Public hearings.
Being 7 o'clock, we'll go to the general public hearings. 4-1, ordinance amending Chapter 56-5, legal holidays and vacations. Open up the hearing to anyone in favor. In favor? Anyone in favor? Hearing none, that portion is closed. Open up to anyone in opposition. Opposition? Opposition, hearing none, that portion is closed. Need a motion to adopt. Motion by Counselor Rourke, seconded by Counselor Mercia. Roll call.
Counselor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Noon.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Yes.
Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes.
Counselor Conway. 8 yeas.
Yeah. 5-1, utility public hearing, Boston Gas, DBA National Grid requests installation of 400 feet of new 2-inch plastic along Bassett Street. Open up the public hearing to anyone in favor? In favor?
I am Diana Cuddy from National Grid. I'm in favor of the
I got it, though. We got it. I got it. Diane Cuddy from National Grid. I got it.
Are you all set then, National Grid?
yes.
Okay. There's no sound out here. Okay, anyone else in favor? In favor, that portion is closed. Open up to anyone in opposition? Opposition? Opposition, that portion is closed. Need a motion to refer to a wire inspector for report and recommendation by Counselor Mercia, second by Counselor Samaras. 5-2, Boston Gas requests installation or replacement of gas main on Woodward, Orchard, Oxford, Wright, Starboard, Cortland, and Waterford, West Fifth Street, and Adams. Open up the public hearing to anyone in favor.
Hi, Diana Cuddy, 40 Sylvan Road, Waltham, National Grid. I'm in favor.
I got it. I know it is.
Okay, anyone else in favor? In favor, that portion is closed. Open up to anyone in opposition. Opposition. Opposition, that portion is closed. Need a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Counselor Drinkwater, seconded by Counselor Chow. 5-3, Boston Gas requests installation of replacement gas main Walker, Belchelder, Litchfield, Ready, and Hampton Streets. Open up to anyone in favor?
Diana Cuddy, 40 Sylvan Road, Waltham, National Grid, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor? In favor? That portion is closed. Open up to anyone in opposition. Opposition? Opposition, that portion is closed. Need a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Elliott. And then 5-4, Verizon New England requests installation of 4 underground conduits along 657 Middlesex Street. Open up the hearing to anyone in favor. Anybody here? In favor? In favor, that portion is closed. Open up to anyone in opposition. Opposition? Opposition, that portion is closed. Need a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Noon. All right, that concludes the public hearings. Report subcommittees. Were there any subcommittees? Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's no subcommittees, but I just wanted to announce that not this Tuesday, obviously not this Tuesday, next Tuesday, at 5:30 right here in the City Council chamber, we will have officials from the Federal Emergency Management Agency to talk about the flood, the new rating for flood, for people that reside in the flood zone. I don't know, Kara, do you want to share a little bit more about it? I just think it's important. I've shared it as much as I could with folks, but anybody that resides in the floodplain should either tune in or try to participate, because it could have an impact, a positive impact, quite frankly. This new rating system that FEMA has come up with, which replaces the old rating that if you're at a certain elevation, you have this skyrocket premium, insurance premium, because you live in the floodplain. Anything else you want to add to that, Kara? I mean, thank you for organizing this in a timely manner, because it will have an impact on people's flood insurance.
Thank you. I don't have anything else to add other than Congresswoman Trahan's office, Emily Byrne, has been coordinating, and she said she'll, the representatives will be here to answer any questions and do a presentation.
Okay, great. So the meeting will be, people can Zoom if they want. It's just getting the message out there, or it'll be on LTC as well. So thank you for putting this together in a timely manner. I think people that live in the floodplain that have had to pay these high rates for such a long time can benefit from this new rating system. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have 4 wire inspector reports. National Grid requests installation of the handhold and 120 feet of conduit for a service to cell antenna on Appleton Street, pole 17. National Grid requests installation of the gas main extension from 35 to 79 Pratt Ave. New singular wireless DBA AT&T requests installation of a small cell antenna on existing pole at 84 University Ave on Riverside Street. And National Grid requests installation of 975 feet of 12-inch plastic main along Jackson, Marston, Middlesex South, and Summer Streets. So I need a motion to accept and adopt the accompanying orders by Councilor Noon, seconded by Councilor Mercia. All those approved? Petitions. Boston Gas requests installation of 2 and 4-inch low-pressure gas mains along Nicole Drive, Stewart Street, Montview Ave, Monadnock Ave, Pine Street, Alyssa Drive, and Rayner Street. Need a motion to refer to a public hearing on December 7th, 2021 at 7 PM by Councilor Samara, seconded by Councilor Chow. City Council motions. First motion of the night, Councilor Elliott. Request City of Lowell recognize Roland Perron Jr., owner of Rowley's Farm, for his vision to ensure that his land will be protected as a conservation land to benefit the residents of the city and future generations. Seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself. I just thought, I think that we should be recognized, and we recognize a lot of folks in the city for many contributions before and in the past. And I truly feel that we should honor Raleigh for his decision to keep that land in preservation and conservation for future generations. You know, he could have gone in another direction. He certainly had enough offers. And at the same time, you know, congratulate Parks and Conservation and Mill City Grows and the Audubon Society, because that partnership, that group will protect 15 acres of Lowell's oldest farm. So certainly, I think it goes without saying that his decision will benefit future generations, as I mentioned, and we should recognize him for doing that for the city of Lowell. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this motion? All those in favor say aye. Next motion tonight, Councilor Elliott requests City Council discuss appointment of an ad hoc task force to undertake the restoration and preservation of Clay Pit Brook Cemetery in Pawtuckaville. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Elliott.
So I'm not sure the task force is the right way to go. I was thinking, how can we put together some group, some organization, some structure to bring about an improvement at Clay Pit Cemetery. And for a number of years now, I know there has been discussion about it back to 2007, and there's been several people that have done lots of research, but this is the bottom line is a piece of property known as Clay Pit Brook, or also referred to as the old burial ground. And just by way of reference, right behind the new market basket and next to sort of the bowling alley and the temple that's going to be built there. It's in disrepair. So interestingly enough, you know, the city, we're known for many things, and at the top of that list is historic preservation. The mills, the boarding houses, the canals, gatehouses, so many things throughout the city, and the nation's first urban national park. And I feel that we preserve history extraordinarily well, and here's an opportunity for us to continue that trend. This piece of property, apparently, from what I have read, is owned by the town of Dracut, and according to property records, that still is the case, and perhaps which is why it's gone into disrepair, because it's in Lowell. It was owned by the town of Dracut and remained in their ownership once, you know, even after Pawtuckaville was annexed by Lowell. So there still remains some questions on ownership, but in the meantime, this property, this historic resource continues to fall in disrepair. As a state of the local law is the town of Dracut retains the property rights. The village of Pawtucket, including this area, is very rich in colonial history, and descendants that are buried in this cemetery reflect that. So after I filed the motion, I actually got an email from an individual who works for the city, Jade Oxton, and works for the cemetery department. She's actually reached out to the town of Dracut because 2 years ago, a story was written on this by Prudence Brighton, and at the time, the town manager didn't have any interest in it. I'm going to presume that's still the case because no work has been done. The site's been cleared a number of years ago, but it's really in sad shape. So I think the thought is to create a friends group. I did reach out to Dick Howe. He thought that was the way to go. A number of individuals, I hope that will, perhaps, so a task force from the city side doesn't make any sense because there's still debate on ownership. But I do think a friends group, which makes sense for Mr. Jeffrey Hollett from Dracut. He's a veterans agent, is interested. There is some renewed interest in the town of Dracut. Certainly, Rebecca Duda, who has done yeoman's work and has written about this extensively, once a history teacher, now runs a Lowell Parent Center in Lowell, involved all good names that can be involved. So I think it's, a Friends of Clay Pit makes sense, Madam Manager. I don't know if there can be some involvement with the city when it comes to historic preservation, but after thinking about this, I do think it makes sense that there will be a need for funding for preservation or restoration. But I think the good part is, all I have to do is visit the site, and which I did, not my first time, to appreciate the historical significance of this cemetery. And then at the same time, you feel disappointment on the condition of it. You read some of the epithets on these stones, and it's remarkable. Some of the individuals that actually are buried there have made significant contributions, including Barzilier Lou, and I won't go through all the names, but there's great historical value of people that have been buried there. So, in any event, I'm going to stop there, and I suppose I'm not really sure that we don't really need a task force. It's more of a friends, but I think if the city participation will go a long way, and I'll update the council as we move forward, as we need some resources from the city. So.
All right, so do we withdraw the motion?
So I guess I withdraw the motion. The task force isn't really warranted. It's more of a friends group that can be set up as a private, nonprofit 103. So I do think that's the direction that,
Okay.
Maybe there can be city representation on it once we put this group together, because it will require cooperation between the town of Dracut and the city of Lowell as we move forward on many avenues to repair and bring it back to life.
So we withdraw the motion.
So withdraw the motion.
All right. well,
Long explanation to withdraw the motion, but I do think it's important, and
Sure.
that we do identify property ownership, and that we do bring this important site back to life.
Okay, thank you. 11.3, Council Elliott requests city manager have inspectional services provide a report on the number of abandoned buildings owned by absentee landlords in the city. Seconded by Councilor Mercer. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion came as a result of, I think there were 4 city councilors and 2 councilor-elect at the Back Central Neighborhood Group last week, and it was well attended. The police department has done a great job in addressing an area of the city that really has been inundated with prostitution, with drug use, with not a good look for the city, and they are on top of it. But one of the issues that came up was a piece of property that has been abandoned. It's been abandoned for a number of years, and there's no interest apparently by the property owner to improve the condition. And I'm sure it's not the only case. And considering there's such a housing shortage and there is a demand and a need, it just makes one wonder why these property owners, absentee, they don't live in the city, why they just leave them in disrepair? Is it because it's a write-off for them, for other properties they're making millions and other their properties, and they just, here's a write-off, we don't want to be bothered with it? But one woman at that meeting stood up and said, my property insurance is sky high because this property next door is abandoned. People come in, they have boarded it up, but people come in and, they stay there for a little while, and it's just not a good thing. So I don't know how many they are, Madam Manager, but I thought it was important to get a report. And You know, I do remember, again, in Centerville, we had the Attorney General come and do sort of abandoned property or, you know, improvements on a number of properties, and maybe we can just refocus and set up, again, given the, you know, and if they're not going to improve them, if there's an X on them, the fire department won't come in, then let's put them on the demolition list. Because what I do recall is, once upon a time, we used to bring these properties in, people would leave them in disrepair, and as soon as we were going to demolish them, they would come in and they'd pull a building permit and they wouldn't want it demolished. So it's unfortunate that that's the exercise. But I just thought it was, you know, important to bring it forward from that meeting, and that this is some options that we can, because it's grossly unfair to property owners to have to pay skyrocket property insurance because there's an abandoned building next door. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this motion? All those in favor say aye. Next motion, ninth by Councilor Mercier, request City Council and Mayor invite councilors-elect to attend City Council meeting on December 7th. Seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor Mercier?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion is similar to the motions that we have every election time, whereby we do invite the councilor-elect to come here and not to take part, but to observe and see, give them a little heads up on what to expect. They usually would sit right aside of us, but I don't know that that's possible this time with the vast amount of people that would be here. But if we could just form around there and they could get an idea of how things work here. So that I thought it was a matter of being kind and
Sure.
thoughtful. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Next motion, ninth, Councilor Noon, request city manager have superintendent of police identify grants to offset the cost of video cameras for businesses, nonprofits, and religious institutions, as well as potential to connect the Ring network or comparable video network use by the LPD in advancing public safety efforts in the neighborhood. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion, I filed this motion a while back, don't recall, but this came from the Back Central meeting last Thursday that have 4 of our councilors here, Councilor Mercier, Councilor Rodney, and Councilor Drinkwaters, and myself, and 2 councilor-elect, Councilor Wayne Jeunesse and Councilor Kim Scott. There was a great discussion. The police captain, 2 captains there, and also the deputy superintendent. They've done a good job in that area since the last time we talked about homeless people that really invade that area, to say the least. So I truly believe that community policing will benefit from this technology, because public civilian camera can enhance a couple of things. That is problem solving, aid in arrest and investigation, as well as ultimately increase offender perception that you will be both caught and prosecuted. So the public civilian system, certainly I feel that also will improve police and community partnership, as well as reduce crime. Of course, there's cost attached to it, but not doing it costs more. You heard the frustration of the Back Central resident, and this is not just Back Central resident in the Lower Highlands, in the Acres, and the Centerville as well. So we need to look into doing this, because it certainly it helped the police doing their job, and people talk about that. So we need to look into it, and how if we can use whatever fund we can, through grant or ARPA monies, and certainly this is impact the health and the safety of the resident if we don't do that. So thank you. I'm hoping that we get a report, and I'm hoping that some work into it as quick as possible. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Last motion of the night by Councilor Drinkwater, request city manager contact the Executive Office of Health and Human Services to explore the feasibility of establishing temporary cottage housing with wraparound services to provide additional shelter options for unhoused individuals in Lowell. Seconded by
Second.
Councilor Noon. Councilor Drinkwater, we have a registered speaker, I believe.
We do. Kyle Howell.
Good evening. I'm Carl Howell. I'm the Chief Program Officer at Community Teamwork, and I'm just speaking on behalf of Community Teamwork's support of Councilor Drinkwater's motion. Community Teamwork has been working with the city and other homeless providers to mitigate the crisis that is housing insecurity in the city of Lowell. Over the past year, we have partnered with the City of Lowell, DHCD, and Life Connections to increase capacity of emergency beds, which include 20 new beds at Life Connections and 80 new beds at hotels across the region. Even with this major effort of creating 100 emergency beds over the last year, there is still a large population of unhoused individuals. The unhoused community that has become a daily conversation across all of the sectors in the city. There has been many statements about individuals not being from Lowell and that they're coming from Boston and other communities around. We believe these statements are false and unsupported, and that is why CTI's outreach team partnered with the co-op team to gather additional demographics. Over the past few weeks, CTI and the co-op team have identified 140 to 150 individuals that are currently living in places not meant for habitation in the city of Lowell. Of those, 85% of them are from Lowell, roughly 120 unhoused individuals. We have just over 60 individuals in the hotels currently. 89% of them are from Lowell. Over the past 16 months, our youth services has worked with 275 housing insecure youth. 73% are from Lowell. This data shows that 80% of the homeless individuals that are receiving services in Lowell are specifically from the city of Lowell. This is our children, our parents, our aunts, uncles, our grandparents. Housing isn't a privilege. Dignity isn't a privilege. I need the community and the city council to understand the urgency that exists. Local nonprofits are providing housing, emergency housing, to roughly 100 to 190 individuals in the city. There are another 120 plus individuals living in places not meant for habitation. We are in winter protocol currently, and there is no housing solutions available for those 120 plus. The funding that CTI has received from the state to provide winter protocol expires in April. If we do not identify housing solutions, temporary or permanent, we will have another 60 to 70 plus individuals leaving the hotels and becoming unsheltered. This would increase our current numbers from 140 to 200 over. Councilor Drinkwater's motion has the potential to address this immediate need, investing in temporary cottage styles like the organization Pallet is providing to Boston. This could create temporary solutions while more permanent housing solutions like low-income housing is developed within the city. We need to make bold moves and be innovative to address this crisis. The creation of housing is the only way out of the unhoused crisis. These temporary spaces will provide both housing and dignity to those that often that are often not spoken to and not heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Drinkwater?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Mr. Howell for your comments in support of the motion, and also your work and the work of your organization, Community Teamwork, Inc., to do the work on the ground in the community. And, you know, as was discussed extensively at our last city council meeting, there is a lot of work that is happening on the ground, doing all the things that we know we need to do to place unhoused individuals into housing, bringing online more hotel beds, more shelter beds, more housing within the community to provide permanent housing options. The person-to-person casework that's happening with those 140 to 150 individuals who are living in uninhabitable living situations. And you know, there's a lot of work happening on the ground, and it's all very commendable. But you know, every once in a while, there is a new kind of innovative idea that might be able to bring on a little bit more housing. And I had filed this motion because I read an article about how, as Mr. Howell just mentioned, in the city of Boston, the state has stepped up to contract with a company called Pallet that specializes in building temporary cottage housing, temporary housing that can actually be built in less than an hour and has up to a 10-year lifespan. And they are using the campus of the Shattuck Hospital in Jamaica Plain to create a community of around a couple dozen temporary cottages to house individuals who are moving from the tent community from Mass and Cass into this community, which will not only provide shelter, but wraparound services on site. Things like meals, laundry services, bathrooms, health services, exactly the type of things that are needed to transition these individuals into permanent housing solutions with the services that they need. So I was very enthused to see the state, the Commonwealth, stepping up to help out the city of Boston with this issue, and it it wasn't lost on me that I went back to a comment, and I wasn't able to make the event, but it has been mentioned, on the floor of this council, that when the governor did come to Lowell, he had referenced that the issue of homelessness was a city issue. And I know on the floor of this council that that comment was criticized, saying we need more state help, state and federal help to solve this issue, and I think that's true, and I think it's commendable that the state is now stepping up to help the city of Boston, and I think this is an innovative solution that could be hopefully utilized by the city of Lowell. Now, identifying a location for a temporary cottage community may be the difficult part. This is a regional issue, and the hope is that there could be a site that's located in the area. One idea that came to mind, perhaps this could be explored if there is a state solution, is that there is the campus of Tewksbury State Hospital. It's a sprawling campus, a lot of space, close to services that could be provided on the hospital campus. Is an idea that came to my mind. I'm sure there are other opportunities and other locations that could be explored, but I'm hoping that we can reach out to the state and possibly partner in a similar fashion to the way that they have with the city of Boston to help solve this problem. So anyway, if the motion shall pass, hopefully, Madam Manager, you can reach out and see if this program that seems very promising in Boston could be extended to us here in Lowell. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very good motion, Councilor Drinkwaters. I recognize too that the state have just started this project in Shattuck, so it is a good thing. The city have done a lot already, City of Lowell, with all the partners, and you have Carl here from CTIs and so many others. So it's a matter of, let's get this start, the temporary cottage, because certainly the wraparound service support people, as Councilor Drinkwater suggests, that with meal, laundries, mental health, addiction service, and so on. So we can start looking at location and build it before winters arrive, because we're going to need those beds for those individuals anyway. Why not have a bed and a wraparound service to provide those, and then move them to temporary housings from there? We have the will, Madam Managers, and you assembly a great team of people. So let's work with the state and try to ask the state for help. And I heard that too, Councilor Drinkwater, but I guess the governor misspoke. So now he corrected with the money to have the state, start with the temporary cottage in Boston. So maybe he can help us here too. But thank you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Manager, in the report, if you could put in it, what, with the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that nonprofits do receive from the city and state, what they do for the homeless problem. Maybe there's a disconnect there. And just, it's funny how, the motion comes up, and then the first suggestion is, to kick out to Tewksbury or to sell it to Boston. So obviously, there's some hurdles to have to clear with this, but, all encompassing, and just look forward to see what's being done right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Councilor Elliott?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just speak briefly, but it's a good motion because as we learned in the coordinating council meeting, the old way of doing things doesn't work. So providing these wraparound services where the homeless individual can benefit at the time does allow for progress versus they get services or they're in a silo. It's shelter, but at the same time, there are services that are provided to get them out of the status that they're in and hopefully progress them to whether it's some assisted living and then living on their own. So it does make some sense, and the state of Massachusetts clearly has identified that. So it's a good motion, and it's a good way to address a very complicated situation, as Carl mentioned. It's only going to get worse. And that information was good to know, because we did learn at this Back Central Neighborhood Organization that as a result of the methadone mile, the tents being disbanded, some folks that unfortunately have been arrested came from Boston, and they're coming to Lowell because of the services. So we've got to stay ahead of it, and I think it's a creative way, an important way, not just creative. It's an important way to address that complicated situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Any announcements tonight? Councilor Mercia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are people in this city that spread the name of Lowell in a very positive way, and I'd like to give you an example of that. I had the opportunity and the pleasure of attending the bicycling race competition that took place at Shed Park this past Sunday that drew in a large number of visitors, residents, families, and competitors. Over 400 people registered to take part in this competitive bicycling event. People came from all over New England, the New England states, and I spoke to many of them who couldn't be more grateful to the city of Lowell for hosting this event. They expressed the beauty that Lowell is and how well maintained Shed Park was. Personally, I would like to hear that comment about the whole city, but that is an issue for another day. I can't find the rest of, but so there was so much work that was put into this. This work went to the parks, Shannon Cohen and Bruce Brown. They prepared the area. Shed Park is over 30 acres. Joe Cady from the city engineer's office is the one who promoted this in 2004. So it's going on 17 years that this event has taken place. I can't believe the people that were there having fun. Children were on the playground equipment having a ball. Trinity Ambulance was parked in front of the pavilion so that in case anybody needed their services, they were there. It was just amazing. And then you have 1.9 miles of caution tape all over the whole entire area, which encompasses the 30 acres. A lot of work went into this. People were having fun. People were coming up to me saying, "Oh, thank you very much. This is a nice city. Thank you for this event. We look forward to it every year." It brought a positive vibe in that area. We had so many people that were taking part, getting their exercise. I wanted to thank the Parks Department, Bruce Brown, Shannon Cohen, Joe Cady. This has been a tremendous event that took place, and I just happened to be going by and I stopped, and I was a little curious, and I went around, and they had different age groups. They had women's group, they had children's group, adult men, different categories. It was really, really remarkable. That was a Sunday afternoon. And I want to say this, that there is an organizer in this event who happens to be a landscaper. So to give back to this group, he, after the event is all over, he assesses it, he maintains it to the shape, if not better than the way that it was. He reseeds it, and what more can you ask for? They put it back into something even probably better than what it was. So I'm very, very grateful. I thought the city and that my colleagues should know that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything else? Sure, Madam Manager?
Just quickly, Mr. Mayor, just to remind people at home in the audience, the City of Lights Parade will be this Saturday, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. The parade will step off at 4:30 from down on Jackson Street, parade up through Central Street over to City Hall for the lighting of City Hall. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be here, but in addition, there'll be activities all throughout the day, from wreath decorating to hot chocolate contests to lots of activities. If you look on our website, you'll see there's fun things for the family and for children throughout the day on Saturday leading up to the parade. So we hope everybody can join us. And it's also Small Business Saturday on Saturday in the city of Lowell. There'll be free parking, and we're promoting small business as well.
Thank you. Need a motion to adjourn by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Chow. Thank you.